Okay, so let's take a look at expediting vegetation in Lumion 7. And to do so, I want to show you the new material editor and also some of our new material types. So the first thing we do need to do, though, is take a look at our brand new Boulevard Coffee Shop demonstration file. So we'll be using this for several new tutorials in the months to come. And for this one, though, I want to show you how we set up our vegetation textures, what we're going to work on in Lumion, and then we're going to save this model and import it. So let's hop into SketchUp for just a moment, and let me show you around. This coffee shop is located in the River North District in Denver, and so the rhino is kind of the mascot for that. So we grabbed this rhino model off of the 3D warehouse. Also, you can see, we added a leaf texture to it in SketchUp. Also, we have this super simple hedge that I built with the push-pull tool. And then we also have some of these 2.5D trees. These are these clever trees that are built to kind of always face you. They look good in SketchUp, and now they look really good in Lumion too. So we're going to actually import those rather than replacing them in Lumion with a separate tree. Also, we do have our green screens here. The green screen is a company that creates these screens essentially that you can attach to a building, lets ivy and different plants grow on the inside of them. Pretty cool. They have all of their 3D models uploaded to the 3D warehouse, so that's kind of a cool thing to grab there. And for this one, you can see we added this surface with an ivy texture on the inside, and then the last texture I want to call out is going to be this brick. And this brick is called Old Brick Weathered. And I gave it a different brick than the other brick on the inside, for instance, because I want that foliage to grow on the outside only. So we made it a separate material. And then, of course, we always have our grass. So what we're going to do, I've shown you how this model is set up, pretty simple SketchUp model, but doesn't have to be SketchUp, can be any 3D modeling program. Just make sure you assign a texture to that surface, and once it comes into Lumion, you're going to swap that material with the new Lumion material. So let's do a save as and just make sure I know exactly where I'm putting this. It's in my desktop temp folder. It's called SU SketchUp 101 Boulevard Coffee Shop. So we're good to go there. And I'll save it, and we'll just go ahead and overwrite that. That's fine. Also, I'm on my Render tab, which is a preset in SketchUp that lets me know this is where I want to be whenever I'm importing into Lumion. So let's now hop back over into Lumion, and let's take a look at what's going on in here. So in Lumion, we're going to go to our Start tab, and we're going to choose Start a New Scene. So I'll click on Start New Scene, and the first thing that we want to do is import this model. So I'm going to go to my Objects tab and click on Imports, and then I'm going to click on Import New Model. We're going to go to our Desktop, Temp, and here's that model that I just saved. So we'll choose Open, and then I've already imported this once, so that's okay. We'll just go ahead and give it a different name, doesn't matter, and that way you can see the import. Okay, so now I'm just going to simply click to place my SketchUp model in my Lumion scene. And then let's just orbit around and see what we've got here. So we've got everything came in. Looks pretty flat and static though because we have not assigned our materials yet. All right, so one thing I like to do always is I go to my Move mode and then reposition this to be at 0, 5, and 0. That way, the reason I do that is because if I want to import something else into this, I always know that I can work off of the same axes in SketchUp and be able to import it into Lumion and set it at the exact same origin point. So it allows me a little bit of flexibility moving forward. If I don't give it an exact placement, it's rather difficult to get these to line up perfectly. Okay, so we've got our model in there. I'll click on Deselect. And now the next step is to assign some textures. So basically we swap these SketchUp materials with Lumion materials. So I'll go to my materials editor or tool, and I'm going to first click on the grass. That's the familiar one, and we're going to call that our landscape. So now we've got our landscape. We can move in, and let's go with our hedges here. So you can see the super flat, simple hedge. I click on that. I go to my new Nature tab, or my Nature tab, and my new material type of leaves. All I have to do is click on any one of these, and we get these 3D leaves growing out of there. So how slick is that? There's all these different setups here, lots of options for creating those hedges. If I double click on this, you can see that we get the leaf size and our spread. All right, so that's pretty cool. Maybe we'll choose yeah, something like that looks pretty good. And then the leaf size, comes down, and the spread is just enough to make it look interesting. So that's pretty cool there. Let's go over to our rhino. We can click on this, this rhino. So what we're getting at here is that you can create these extremely sculptural shapes in your 3D modeling program, assign a leaf material, and then make them into these really nice landscape elements. So we'll go over to our nature tab, and under leaves, we'll just choose a different leaf type. Double click on it, and let's just drop the leaf size to make it a little bit smaller. And then you can see that spread, kind of like how much do you want it to grow out and overgrow. So maybe just a little bit is kind of cool. And then you can see we've got that super detailed look to it. So that's pretty cool. The ability to make these extremely sculptural landscape elements. And then also here we have these 2.5D trees. You can see how it's kind of locked in place now in Lumion, but that's okay. If we just go over here and click on that guy, we can go to our nature tab, leaves, and we also have these like pine type leaves too, so that's pretty cool. Maybe we can go with that. We'll just double click on it, choose the leaf size, knock that down pretty far, and then the spread, can go crazy or not. And then just like that, we've got some pretty realistic, some plant life that goes in there. So not too shabby, right? All right, so let's keep on moving. We also have our green screens here. And so in our green screen, I can click on that ivy, and we'll go over to, let's see, did I get that? Yeah, IVO2. We'll go to nature, leaves, same deal. We'll choose leaves 4. Let me back out of here, we'll get a good look at it. Seems like oftentimes I like to knock down the leaf size like that. And the spread is what makes it go into 3D a bit. And then the spread offset pattern is kind of what gives it that a little bit more, I guess, randomness, essentially. So I just clicked on save to lock in those changes, but that gives it a nice natural look to that green screen there. Okay, so now the last thing I want to show you is, the new material editor. So the leaves don't have all of the translucencies and the different foliage and weathering effects, but what we're going to do is add a standard material to our brick, and then we're going to make some ivy grow up the wall, and then in the next tutorial we're going to get into weathering. So let's take a look at this. All right, so over here I can click on my brick like that, and we'll go to our standard material just like that. And here's our new material editor. You can see that everything's pretty familiar. We can drop our gloss and our reflectivity for brick. We can create a normal map. If you zoom in a little bit, I'm holding the space bar to zoom slow. You can see that the relief on that, if you were to flip it, see that direction is not correct for brick. If I flip it, that's the correct direction. So now I get enough relief where it just kind of gives some depth to that brick. That looks pretty good. So it makes a kind of a cool brick wall. Now here's where our new material editor comes into play. You can see here you can collapse it, and we have all of these sub tabs. So these are the things that you used to have to click on, I think it was an advanced drop down, and add these different advanced properties to the material themselves. But now they're all available on these sub tabs. So you've got your position, orientation, transparency, and weathering, and settings, weathering, and foliage. So for foliage, watch this. This is really slick. I'm just going to go and we're going to go adjust our spread up, and there we go. All right, so for any setting in Lumion, if I hold shift, it goes a little slower. So that kind of allows me to hold shift and just kind of inch the ivy right up the wall like that. And let's drop our leaf size down. I think it should be a little bit lower. And then our leaf type, we can choose something different. Like that looks a little bit more reasonable for where I'm at. The spread offset pattern, again, give it that randomness, and maybe just dial up a little bit more on that spread like that. There we go. That looks pretty cool. All right, so I'll say okay. So that is our new material editor, and some of these new foliage effects that you can assign to a material. Just gives a lot of detail. I mean, to get an image with ivy crawling up the wall, I used to use a lot of Photoshop. It was just difficult. It was a tricky thing to do, and it is extremely easy now in Lumion 7. So stick with me. In the next tutorial, I'm going to show you some weathering effects, and I'll see you in that next tutorial.